now. It's a partnership. I don't work for them. I work with them. Any problem is really a challenge. That's why I go by the senator. That's why I wear the different color, because I want people to know, like, hey, this is me. Like, people say, man, feel like I know you already because I follow your content.
Well, hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Alexio Show. Today, I am honored to have a new guest here, Senator Porter, and he is a master networker here in San Diego. A lot of you guys have probably seen him around, a lot of content. He runs a couple meetups. One of them, Margaritas Mingle, I think the third Thursday every month. And a great meetup for real estate professionals to get together and learn new things about the industry. But really excited to learn about his story today and learn about some tips. He runs a really cool podcast called Knowledge to Currency, and I'm sure he's learned a lot of really cool things that hopefully he can share today. So welcome to the podcast, Nikia.
And first off, I'm happy to be on the other side. I'm usually on your side, so it's cool to just answer the questions and not worry about what to say. So thank you for having me on. I'm honored.
Yeah. Is this the first time you go on someone else's podcast?
No, I think it's been 3 times. I don't get invited as much as I would think that I'm in, but yeah.
Because you run a podcast now. How many episodes have you done with Knowledge to Currency?
Like 70. It's been 2 years now.
That's a lot of money. I've been on the show twice, and I'm definitely appreciative because you run a top quality podcast with epic audio and everything. In fact, today I just realized, I'm like, okay, well, I forgot my even lab mics at home. So hey, we're just riding dirty with the Rode mic here.
But I got one if you need it in the bag. No, not. So that's the thing. So there's obviously you could do it the way you're doing it. Nothing wrong with this. But you have to understand what you're doing, be technical. Even at the studio when we first got started, we did a whole episode and you could hear my audio, but you couldn't hear the guest audio.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, so
It happened. One of my biggest mistakes was I had Jonathan from ADU Pals on the podcast.
Oh, man.
On his video cut out halfway through, and there was also issues with audio in the past. I've had another one where the camera didn't focus, just couldn't figure it out, and when you're on the podcast, you can't watch the camera too. So it was just stuck on I don't know, something behind the subject. So the guy was blurry the whole time.
Yeah.
The technical difficulties that happened. But tell me about, I know you're doing a lot of work with Kevin Feely at that
Content Factory.
What's new with that? What's going on with that?
Yeah, Content Factory is cool because they basically have all the cameras set up for you. They have different setups that they can do for you, and then the engineer's there. So really all you need to focus on is putting together a good show, asking engaging questions. The quality of cameras are very good. At the moment, they're running a special. If you book online, they give you 50% off your first initial recording. And they're very fair with the pricing and stuff like that. But the quality was amazing, is what I like about it. It looks like I'm like a Joe Rogan.
It looks like you're 60 Minutes.
Right?
This is do the cool stuff, flood lighting, and I think that's
Yeah, exactly. And you can't change that.
I came on yours. I was like, I gotta get some
light
those lights. Kind of upgrade our podcast.
And that's what it's not to me, it's not a competition. It's to inspire everybody else, because the whole reason why I started my podcast was during COVID. I would just look on Instagram and see all these scammers and people just saying like, hey, give me $49 and I'll help you become a millionaire. And this is how you do it. And some people gave good information, but a lot of people gave bad.
A lot of people just I don't think there's something to that. If you want to get good, you're going to start off, you just got to start saying stuff and you got to get comfortable. But hopefully you're talking about stuff that you have some sort of authority on.
Oh, yeah.
That you're not just talking about something you don't know.
Yeah.
Just to talk about something.
Yeah.
That's the case. What you're talking about is a lot of scammers talking about things they don't know just because they want to have a voice.
Yeah. And that's just more that the scary part too is they don't know that they're hurting people. They think that, oh, this is a play.
Right.
That's the word. This is a play. Let's do this play.
Cool. Let me pull a quick one on people. With three, they got to know not providing actual value.
Well, some of them don't know. I think it's a mix. Some people are hearing it from someone else and they're seeing the results and they're like, oh, well, that person did it. I'm smarter than them. And then when you start really looking at because anytime I worked at a bank, so once there's commerce, once I give you money, I have a fiduciary duty to do my product or service. That's why there's money back guarantees and things like that. But what I'm understanding in the I guess you would say the entrepreneurial game is those values, those things aren't for everybody. And morals, they want the money. They don't care.
Right. Well, you said you worked at a bank before. So I feel like in your life story and our conversations, you've been kind of a lot of different industries.
Oh
Can
yeah.
you give kind of a 5 minute synopsis of where you came from and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
what
So
you're doing today?
yeah. So for me, I probably was born to do sales my whole life, from selling candy bars for football or whatever. I was always really good with selling, selling newspapers door to door, whatever the case may be. I started probably when I was 21 working for a bank, working for Wells Fargo. And then September 11th, the mortgage industry changed for the better. Rates started to drop. They went from in the 8% down to 6%, down to 4% to
Wow.
3%. And I'm going through all this stuff in my 20s. So I got,
A lot of business then.
yeah, a lot of business. We worked at so Wells Fargo at the time wasn't as I guess one of the top 5 banks. It was a top 25 banks. So at that time, you had like Washington Mutual, Countrywide, World Savings, all these other banks, and Wells Fargo was down here. But they had an idea to make call centers to take applications, and at that time, I just came at the perfect time. So they put us downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they had us in a classroom, taught us about mortgages. My mom didn't own a house. I didn't know anything about mortgages, but I got a quick education through them. And then the rates dropped and the phones went from people calling every 5 minutes to there was 2.5 hour hold times and people calling in trying to refi. And you would do application for someone, lock their rate. 2 weeks later, they're calling you because the rate dropped another 1% or 1.5%.
So you just
So then we would relock it.
application.
Yeah. No, no, what they did was, I mean, smart. They would just relock the application, or
sit down.
they would say you have a one opportunity to check the rate before you close. If the rate's improved by more than 1%, we'll honor the lower rate for you so that we don't have you start a whole application. That investor gets the money or whatever. So they were smart enough to do that. But they were also ahead of their time because people weren't really doing applications over the phone at that time. More people were face to face and going into the bank. So my whole career, because I worked for them over 20 years, people were like, "Oh, you're not a real loan officer. You just sit in the call center." And in actuality, it was harder because now you call customer service and then they get an alert on your account that you're eligible for a cheaper rate. Then they transfer you to me. I'm like, "Alexio, what's happening? Let's refinance." You're like, "Wait a minute, I'm going to pick up my kid from daycare. Oh, this will take 15 minutes." And I got to get the whole application started.
Yeah, while they're on the while they're
Yes.
sorry, yeah.
Oh yeah. And then so it taught you how to cadence, how to mirror the person you're speaking with. Some people are more analytical. Some people are, they like to, yeah, you to talk fast. Some people like you to talk slow.
Yeah, some people straight business, some
Yeah.
people wanna, like, have a fluffy
Yeah.
sales.
Some people, it doesn't matter what the deal is. You could lower their rate 3%. They want to think about it and they want 3 quotes. So you can't like force that person to do the application because nothing worse than you get the application and they just cancel. So it taught me a lot about sales. So moving from there, I market shifted, rates went up, the housing market crashed, and I went through all that at the same call center. And then one day I opened up my door. I'm in Minnesota, and it snows this high, and they had a blizzard that weekend. So I'm shoveling, and I'm thinking like, man, why do I live here? Like, why I got a house here? Like, I got to get out of here. I can't spend another winter here. I've been here majority of my life. I was born in Texas, but I grew up in Minnesota most of my life. So I was like, I got to get out of here. So one of my old,
What year was that?
this would have been 2016.
Okay.
So
16 years just doing mortgages out of Minnesota.
yeah, for sure, doing mortgages there. So then I called one of my old coworkers. He stayed with Minnesota, but he moved to Tampa, Florida, and he lived there, and his family was from Florida. So I was like, "Hey, could you get me a job at your branch?" It'd just be like going from Wells Fargo to Wells Fargo, which I thought, but I guess Wells Fargo corporate and Wells Fargo distributed is two different entities, even though it's the same company, and they almost compete against one another. So they're not friendly.
It's almost like a franchise.
Oh, bro, it's crazy. So, like for the call center, we have a thing called call to app ratio. So for every 10 calls, we believe you should get a loan. If you can't, you're not a good salesman because you're talking to 10 people. Most people don't talk to 10 people every day. They get voicemails. They, send emails. They're trying to follow up to get that one opportunity to sell what you sell. But we're getting calls like all day long. People just calling in. So they're gonna make a choice if you can make it obvious that this is the right thing to do. So they taught us how to do that. And then, I read sales books and stuff like that to get better at it. But they taught us what we needed to know. So then we moved to Florida, and now the calls are not coming in like they were coming before. And they told me my book of business, I couldn't bring it with me. So I had to literally, they're like, if you want to leave, you made this book of business here. This stays with corporate. You cannot take it to distributed retail. And what I figured out later is because there were two different area managers. So yeah, area managers here, area managers there. So they would fight over that book of business. So then they just took my book of business and gave it to my whole team.
Right.
But those were my relationships. So
It was 16 years of relationship.
I didn't understand. I didn't know that stuff. That's what my bad. I should have knew better. But it was a lesson. So I ended up moving to Florida, start over. And then my competitive advantage is I understood how to sit in my office and make fucking calls all day. Like, hey, I'm gonna make calls, then I'm gonna go into the market, then I'm gonna go to open houses and go to events and stuff like that. So I did all that. I started over from didn't know anyone in Tampa.
Yeah, but you're sitting next to guys who are fresh in the business probably, and you've already been doing it forever. So people ask you complex loan questions. You've already had those.
Oh yeah.
You've been down that road. You
Mm-hmm.
figured out those responses, so you can talk on a dime. People like that. They like information quickly. They don't like, hey, let me check on that and get back to you, as much as they like a confident answer in the moment.
Exactly.
So you were able to provide that.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. We understood how to navigate through the Wells Fargo system, the ecosystem. When some loan officers be like, "Oh, you can't do that here," I'm like, "Well, yeah, you can. You just have to do this, talk to this person, submit the file this way, and it'll work." And they're like, "Wow, that worked." I'm like, "Yeah," but in the media and from what the market would say, you know, unfortunately, a lot of the loan officers weren't there as long, so they weren't as trained. What people have to realize, no matter who the loan officer is, some loan officers are only taught certain things. Like, let's say they got into the industry in the last 2 years, they're not going to be as polished and just know all the different products that they can offer you. So let's say, for instance, you are referred to that loan officer and he's trying to help you. He may not know that there's other products that could help.
Tough. That's
them.
why I always tell everybody you have to work with a mortgage broker. Yeah, it's the products at different companies are changing weekly, especially in markets like this where rates are moving and then the loan products are going off the table. Commercial line of credits are gone. How else do we get the liquidity on our portfolio? We're
Correct.
setting the whole loan. Like, you have to work with someone who knows what the new products are. That's their job. Their job is to stay aware. And even as a real estate agent, I don't have the bandwidth to keep up with that.
With everything, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, some people, which I learned not to do, is I have to give you the options. I can't do it based on what I think, because with my point of view and your point of view may be different, and you're the customer. So I need to make sure that I'm giving you all the information, let you see it, and then say, okay, based on what you told me you want to do, this seems like the best product, but here are two other options that you could look.
Yeah, I guess you have to walk a fine line of being a financial advisor,
Correct.
or just being a loan officer providing options. But you have to limit the amount of advice, especially the big corporate firm like Wells Fargo.
Correct.
There's a lot of red tape.
Correct. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. You don't want to call it steering where you're saying, oh, no, you need to do this product. This is the better product. And sometimes people are lazy, so they would make you do the product that's easier for them just because they need to read a couple more guidelines just to do this other product that will make it where you put down less money or whatever.
They didn't educate themselves.
Yeah, they don't know. They're like, so, and we would Wells did, they were crazy about it. They would record all calls and they would listen. And then let's say you did get a sale, but it wasn't the best product, and make you call a customer back and switch it.
Wow.
So they would get a lot of flack about all the things they did that were bad, but they did a lot of things that were right. Like, they would make sure that, hey, this is the best thing that, so it's crazy that they got hit with all the things that they did bad. Cause when we were there, they were on us like,
Oh, I feel like it's similar with property management companies.
okay.
You really, if you ever check Yelp, people will only leave bad Yelp reviews when they're pissed off. When you're feeling good about a property, you're not really going to go out of your way
To review this.
to say, hey, I just love these people.
Truth.
You're really only going to do that when you're like seeking revenge. And that's unfortunately what the nature is of the business with Yelp. And so it's the same story with Wells Fargo too. You don't really get all the praise when you're doing things right, but you get a lot of, big slap on the wrist when you're doing things wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and not to say they didn't deserve like their punishments and stuff, but I'm saying, like, for me, educational wise for this industry, I learned 90% of it being there, getting so many reps, the 10,000 hours were there, to give me the confidence to be like, yeah, well, I can go. Now, the stuff that I didn't like is they made it my individuality. That's why I go by the senator. That's why I wear the different color, because I want people to know, like, hey, this is me. Like, any place I work with now, it's a partnership. I don't work for them. I work with them, and we work together. Because that's what that was the nugget I learned all those years working there. Because when I came out to San Diego from Tampa, I was the Wells Fargo guy. Wasn't Senator, wasn't Nikia, wasn't. So then I was like, all right, how can I change that? And then that's when I was like, all right, I need to come up with my own branding. I need to stand out. With all this knowledge, all the things I know. Some people, like, until I did my podcast, even my friends are like, man, I didn't know you were this smart. I'm like, whoa. And they're like, bro, you dropping knowledge, you're doing that. I'm like, bro, so people just thought I just had fun and partied all the time and I didn't know anything. Like, so it's funny how people look at you, right?
How did you, so when you decided you wanted to sit there and make your personal brand, what exactly did you, what were, what were what was the decision making that went into that? Was it just, hey, I'm gonna wear cool glasses and wear eccentric shirts, or?
No, no, no. There's a bunch of different things that I started to study. So, when you make a business, you look at logos, you look at what color should the logo be, how should the letters be, all this and that. So I studied that kind of stuff, how why McDonald's is red and yellow and things like that. And then I wanted the colors of knowledge of currency to be purple and gold. And they said that's like royalty. That's why Lakers have those colors and whatnot. So I picked that as a color. Then the name Senator, that's a nickname from one of my friends in Tampa, that the one I work with, Michael Bull, and he would call me Senator all the time. And then his best friends in Florida thought I was a senator. So then I met them for the first time. They're like, asked me all these political questions and stuff, and I was just like, well, I was like, man, these people in Florida are very political. And then also one of them leans over like, yeah, so what made you run for office? I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you're a senator. I didn't know if you're a Democrat or Republican. I was like, what?
Honestly, when you started saying that to me too, I'm like, wow, maybe he's running for governor. But I think there's a cool story in that, and I think it fits your brand because we started the podcast talking about how you're a master of networking, but that's kind of what a senator needs to be.
True.
And is that kind of where that originated? Is that why your friend gave you that nickname?
I think with that, but he would say, like, he would go to a place, tip him well, do all this stuff. It wouldn't even know he's there. I come in town, go sit around, start talking to people, shaking hands. Next thing you know, people hugging me.
Yeah.
People giving me drinks. They like, all right, what's up, dog? Nice to see you. Welcome back to Tampa anytime. He's like, bro, they never show me that love. He's like, you're like a senator. Like, everywhere you go, you start smiling, you start talking, everyone starts to like you. So then he gave me the nickname and it just stuck. So then when the COVID happened, I was like, man, so I changed my Instagram, Senator Porter. I started like introducing myself as Senator because my name is Nikia Lamar Porter. Most people don't know how to say Nikia. They don't remember it. So then it's like I'm making them feel uncomfortable just by saying my name, which I started to see that can be like something for people. So even if they mess it up, I got so used to them messing up my name, it never bothered me. But people I'm with, like, no, it's not Nikita, it's Nikia. And then I was like, when I would say senator, people stop. They're like, whoa, hey. And I started saying, okay, this is like
Kind of like your stage name.
exactly like you like Prince or like Jamie Foxx. That's not his real name, or whoever you can think of famous. So then I was like, yeah, so this could actually be a brand. This could actually be something. So then I got the website, Senator Porter, got all the different stuff, and then started going with it. And it was funny, and some people get mad that I call myself a senator.
Really?
And I think that's even more funny.
Why do they get mad? What's
I, one girl, she was like, "Oh, so what city are you the senator? What state are you senator? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "I mean, this is my branding." She goes, "Oh, so you're not a real senator, so you could just call yourself a senator? Maybe I should call myself Queen Elizabeth." I'm like, "I mean, you can, if you want to. Wouldn't make me mad. Like, you want to call yourself Queen or whatever? Like, what's the deal?" And she was like upset about it. Sat with her arms crossed like the whole dinner. It
Sounds like a wet blanket.
was was insane. And then some people like, no, what's your real name? I want your real name. I'm like, whoa.
Well, I think there's something to that too, and I think you do a really good job at this because I don't think I've ever seen you pissed off.
Yeah.
And,
I just
and you're kind of just like a cool guy, and I think that's why a lot of people are inviting you for drinks and stuff. You're the good vibes guy.
I tried it.
And but I don't think that's easy. This doesn't come naturally to people. If people cross their arms and get pissed off over something that doesn't matter, like
Right.
if someone call themselves senator through their whole evening. But I think that this is one big lesson that I and one of the biggest lessons I think everybody needs to learn, and that's that one thing that we have control over is your ability to choose your attitude in any given situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get pissed that your name is senator, or I could say, hey, that's kind of a cool name. Let's talk about why and like how we can work together, and what kind of cool memories and adventures can come from this relationship. So yeah, there's really two ways you can think about any situation, and it's your choice on which way you want to.
Yeah.
And you're good at always picking the glass half full approach versus the glass half empty.
I mean, you think about any problem is really a challenge. Like if you think about working out or whatever, you could be all upset that you're gonna have to live 225, or you could say, "Nah, today's the day we get to live 225. It's gonna be my personal best, and it's gonna be hard. But if I get through this, and then if you don't do it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna try again tomorrow." And that attitude is like everyday life is gonna be not easy. Like I don't think anybody has it easy all the time,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have
Some
up and
days are
down.
harder than others.
But that's the challenge of life. Like you want to live or die. I want to live. I want to. Even if it's big challenges, I'd rather do those challenges with my friends than by myself. And if I can open doors for people, I want to do that to make it easier for them because I know it's not easy for all. Like a lot of people, it's harder than it is for me.
Yeah, it's grateful, man. So you were doing Wells Fargo for a big portion of your life, really involved in lending.
Yeah.
What are you doing today? What is Senator up to these days?
So I got a business consulting firm. Basically try to help businesses either get marketing, help them with any bottlenecks that they have in their business. Most people want more customers, so try to talk about ways with that. Um, we also working with your fees that you pay to negotiate the fees to make them cheaper. Then one of my buddies, I partner with him with his construction company, so we looking for opportunities for construction. Um, then he also introduced me to a guy that does wine cellars. So now we're slinging wine cellars. And then
Nobody needs a wine cellar.
yeah, wine cellars, saunas,
Shout outs.
yeah, wine cellars, saunas, and steam showers. So that's another thing. It's more construction related. I can still help with lending. That's like riding a bike is not the guidelines do change, but they don't change where you can't just read a couple of things to figure out
Still
what's
doing
going on.
loans too on the side.
I don't do it myself, but I can underwrite the loan and then tell you the best place to go get that money and make sure your credit profile looks good because that's what the banks really look at to show that you can repay. And then, you know, depending on what you're trying to buy, you don't want to always go to just a bank or to a broker to get it. Like sometimes credit unions are better than both to get certain things as well. A lot of people don't realize those are options. I worked at a credit union, so I know.
Awesome, man. Well, let's talk about your podcast because you're 70 episodes deep. I think might be episode 17 or 18 for me. So way to go. Definitely inspired by what the road you've taken so far. But
Nice.
what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned from start to finish to get to become the pro podcaster that you are today?
Well, I watch other and listen to other podcasts and try to like take things from them that I enjoy and I like. And I try to pay people to do as much of the stuff that I can to keep me inspired to do it. Because even like the aftermarket of
Right.
distributing the content, that can be overwhelming sometimes.
Posting it,
Yeah, you gotta post
posting it up into shorts and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and even hosting it and putting it on Apple Music and all that stuff. Like I didn't know for the first year that I had to do that. So I had my podcast only on YouTube, and then people like, "Yeah, I've seen you only got 6 episodes." I'm like, "What? I got like 30 episodes. What do you mean I only have 6?" Well, when I first started, I started on my phone during COVID on what's the
Cut Pro or something.
no, no. It's dang, cannot think of the software to come to me. But anyway, you could literally talk into your phone and it would host
Voice
it.
memos?
No, it's
Buzzsprout?
no Buzzsprout's a host
Yeah.
service. Well,
Oh well,
yeah,
so it's a recording on your phone.
yeah, and we could literally, I did it with a loan officer where I put my phone in the conference room, we spoke, and it came out perfectly, and it puts it on there, but it only does audio. A difference what I learned is video is more powerful than audio. You wanna do both if you can, but if you can only do one or the other, do the video for the things that you said. You can take that long form content, turn it into micro content, make shorts, and you can post those shorts as much as you want. Think of it like a commercial. Like I can think of tons of commercials that you know because either you were watching it on TV when it comes on every time, or you're sitting in your car and radio plays that commercial. Your short can be the same way on Instagram. They don't say you can't post the same thing over and over. So, and most people don't see your content. So if you only post it one time, that's only one chance for them to see what you do, or, to engage with them, right? So that's some of the tips I would give as far as that's concerned.
Awesome. What about just I think one cool thing about podcasts is it's an awesome networking tool and a great way to learn
Yeah,
interesting things for masters in different industries.
yeah, for
What
sure.
what are some of the most interesting things that you've learned from talking to people on your podcast?
And I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, just what's really possible with like even how you build your empire, what you started versus when we first met was 6 years ago to where you are today. Look how much has changed in the last 3 years for you. So what the podcast does a couple different things. If you're not an expert at something, bring an expert on the show. So then you may not know anything about the subject. You can learn from the person on your show, and then it like edifies who you are because you're able to get that guest on the show.
Sure.
And then they're honored to be on the show, so they're willing to give you those nuggets that you would normally have to pay for. And then because you're bringing value to them, they may bring you in on an opportunity to help you make more money, or to, help your business, or whatever it may be. One of the shows that I really enjoyed, I had a state attorney on the show, and we talked about like business insurance. So like let's say we start a business together, um, and you're married, and I meet a girl, and maybe you don't think the girl's the best for me. And then all of a sudden she takes all my wealth, we get married, and then she wants a divorce. And now my business is rocking, but now because of my choice, now I have to sell my business, which is your business too. So you can get insurance for that. You can get insurance. Let's say you're in business with your friend for years, but he passed away unexpectedly. Now, what I've started to see is your kids will love that you can pay for whatever they want to do. But if you're a plumber, you own a plumbing company, your kids may not want to be a plumber. They may want to be a YouTuber or whatever they want to be.
Yeah.
So now this
Kids inherit the 50%.
and
Like, I don't want to work at these.
yeah, that
They don't offer any.
oh, the opposite. They're like, no, that my dad helped build this company. I want 50% of his money. And everything was for you guys was rocking. You know that he wanted them to inherit it, but they don't want to do it. So I learned that what you leave for someone else, because they talk about generational wealth and stuff like that. You hope that the kid wants to follow in the footsteps of the family and do those things. The Manu family, they used to own the Sacramento Kings and the like a hotel. And
I don't know their name, but
so they're two brothers. So they bought the Sacramento Kings when they were in the playoffs back in the day. And I'm actually got to meet some of their brothers and sisters and one of their best friends. And the best friend owned a salsa company, and they're both third generation business owners. So their grandfather or great grandfather started a business, gave it to the grandkids, or gave it to the father, then gave it to the grandkids. They said most of the time when you make a bunch of money and you give it to your kid, 90% of the time they blow it.
oh, wow.
And then the generation comes up after that have to build it again, and then they give it to. So they said that they took pride in saying that, hey, our grandfather started something, our great grandfather started something, our dad gave it to us, and we're going to keep it going.
To the next level.
Yeah. So they bought the Sacramento Kings and then sold them, and then I'm trying to think of the hotel, the Palms. They own the Palms. Yeah, so these guys and they built, yeah, but their great grandfather didn't start out that way. So so that's the thing that I learned from the estate attorney, saying that, yeah, you may say, hey, I'm gonna make sure my kids have money and their kids have money, and then you leave them all this wealth, and then they just blow it. They don't
Yeah.
do anything with it. They don't try to. They make all these bad choices.
Yeah, I think that's a tough predicament that
Right.
kids run into because you want to you want to help your kids succeed, but if you pamper them too much,
Mhm.
you can spoil, and then they, don't grow up with the values that they need to be
Right.
successful, good members of society.
Right. Right.
So, I think that's really important, and there's no real blueprint to do it perfectly, but they
Mhm.
gotta, we gotta figure it out along the way and be very aware that
Right.
you can't just give your kids everything. They gotta work for things, and I think that learning how to work for things is really the difference.
Yeah.
Like in those two different, like the Malone family or the trust fund kids who blow it all up their nose.
Right. Yeah, yeah, or whatever they do, like, but what she the so, her name is Sharita Jones, what she told me or explained to me in that podcast episode is these are things you gotta talk about, like, "Hey, you guys starting this business, and it's not anything right now, so there's nothing lost, but as time goes on, as you start to build it, then you start to feel like it's your baby, and then there's something that you've been building, the the next person doesn't think it's anything. Because they didn't build it. They don't know how the nights, the sleepless nights, the stress, the
Yeah, isn't there a quote too that says, "Everybody is jealous of of your outcome,
Mhm.
but no one's jealous of the journey."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
I don't know about you, but while it might appear that I'm successful right now,
Mhm.
I even to this day spend probably way more time on my computer, on the phone. Moments where I want to throw the phone out the window because I've been on the phone for 6 straight hours talking to like 15 people,
Mhm.
and that's part of the journey,
Yeah,
and that's all part of the work
yeah.
it takes to get successful. But for me, I think I just have always had the confidence that if I do this, I will get successful. Whereas a lot of people say that I think they second guess themselves. They say, "Well, even if I did that, maybe I wouldn't even become successful." And it's like, well,
Hey, you already lost. You already lost. Yeah, you gotta try. I mean, and even if it doesn't work, like, I done tons of things that didn't work, like,
even a
but
learning experience.
yeah,
Because then you're getting closer to something that will work.
yeah, I mean, and what may work for me may not work for you or vice versa, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work,
Right.
and I can think of times where I worked really hard, got lucky, and stuff worked out, versus like times when I didn't do much and like it didn't work out. I didn't put the effort in like I did with other things, so I should expect what I got. Like,
Right. Right. Um. Well, what is something that you wish you knew 20 years ago that you know today?
bro, we were just talking about this. So, I worked at a game store in Minnesota when I was in my 20s. It was called Funko Land. And this guy in Minnesota basically started this return game service. So you could buy the game from him and then bring the game back. He give you credit and then you could buy a new game. He started in his basement. So he had all these arcades set up. He had Nintendos and Sega Genesis and stuff. And then he started franchising like strip malls. And it got to be all the way from Minnesota to New York to all different parts of the country. And it was crazy because he had like young kids working there, like we were all young. He'd make us do inventory every night. I don't know if you ever worked in a retail store. In a retail store, most of the time they don't do inventory until like different quarters or different parts of the year. And the reason why they do it is find out people are stealing. So he would make you do inventory every single night. So all the stuff we have in the store, we had to count all the games, all the systems, all the stuff.
Dang, that's a lot of work.
Bro, it'd take us probably like 3 hours to do the inventory. And we write it on sheets and stuff. So 'cause it's obviously before like but, the company became so successful, he had relationships with Nintendo where when the Nintendo 64 came out, he was able to get the games before, like, Best Buy or Walmart. Like, this how long ago this was, right?
Wow.
So, as the company started rising, then someone wanted to acquire the company. So there are 2 companies that wanted to acquire it. One was Amazon, and the other one was GameStop. We never heard of either one of them. So, and this was before smartphones, so we literally had to go over my buddy's house, go on his computer, and look up both companies. At the time, we are like, "Dang, so what is Amazon?" So we look it up, like, "Oh, this is a bookstore." I'm like, "Man, why would a bookstore want to buy a game store? Like, doesn't make any sense." And we could have bought the stock then, like we
Oh man,
because we literally are getting the inside information. Like, have you ever heard of Funko?
never.
So then what ended up happening was GameStop and FuncoLand bid on each other, and GameStop and Amazon bid on FuncoLand, GameStop bought Funko. So we could have bought stock in Amazon before it was like what it is today. And I was 21 years old at the time. So that's something I wish I would have, because we were smart enough to go look up the stock. Why didn't we just buy some? Like, even if we bought a couple shares just for fun, I mean,
I remember thinking exactly that with Bitcoin. See, there you go. Back in 2000, there you go. Like that, we were like, "What is this?" Okay, I got like 8 of them. Okay, well, it was worth like $20. Okay, and I was like, I should just keep these. Why? It's just $20, but $20 to
letting a teenager.
old kind of, that's a couple slices of pizza. I was like, no, don't have very much money, so I don't want to just leave it and potentially lose it.
But the lesson is, that information is all around us all the time, more than ever. So take that information to do what you will, but think of what's possible. Like, even if I'd have bought Bitcoin when I first moved here, it was like under $4,000. I mean, and you don't got to buy it all. Like, now they make it so easy to buy it. But when I first looked at it, the reason why I didn't buy it, because it was just too confusing. I had to get a cold wallet and do all that. I'm like,
Yeah.
so then, but then now that's another thing. Like, all right, you're not willing to do this work to figure out how to do this.
Right. Well, I think it's also just being okay with taking some risks.
Right.
You don't risk everything,
Right.
but you should take risks on a few things that are the one-off opportunities like Amazon or
Right.
going back in the day, and then really go all in on yourself, because you can always trust yourself. That's one thing that when people ask me, hey, what should I do if I want to get invested? I have this much money. Should I buy a property or should I just put it in Amazon or
Bitcoin or whatever.
or something? I'm like, my big thing is I can affect the value of my real estate. I can control it. I can go solve problems and I can make it more valuable.
True.
I can't do any of that for Bitcoin or USO stock market. That's just, you're on the roller coaster and you have no say where it goes. So, for me, because I trust so much in myself and my ability to improve utility of things, improve value of things, I always double down on what I can control.
True.
And I think everybody should do that. Should figure out what they're good at and double down on and what they can do to solve problems for the world using what they know.
I agree.
It's a perfect segue into one of my last questions for you.
Okay, let's do it.
What is your superpower? What do you think your superpower is?
Man, I feel like I'm able to network or really touch people like in a genuine way without being phony or fake or whatever. Like, I really want to get to know people, figure out why they think certain stuff. They don't always got to agree with me with, why they think something. I don't get upset with you just because you feel a certain way about something and I don't agree with it. I want to know why you feel that way. Tell me your position. I'll listen to it. Even if I don't agree, like, dang, I don't agree, but I get why you would say that. A lot of people can't do that.
I think that's a new thing, especially with politics. It's so divisive. People don't want to talk about it. So if they don't agree with you, they get all stuck up and they think they can't be friends with you. It's like, that's part of the human nature. We don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree. And frankly, it's important for us to have these conversations so they can relate to you as a human.
Right.
And understand, because, you watch the news, and if you just watch one side of the news, all of a sudden you think, this guy must be an idiot. Is he not hearing all this stuff? The reality is he's not hearing all that stuff. He only sees the other side of the news.
Truth.
So you have to have the conversations to bring back to the middle, and then they bring up points that make logical sense, and you say, oh, well, that's a good point. Now it brings us back to the middle to where we can relate to each other, and then hopefully one day that means, maybe you even open yourself up to changing your mind. Or, you should always be open to changing your mind if you find new information. You shouldn't be tied to the ideals that you cemented in the back of your head. You should always be open to new information. It can change your mind.
I agree, and people need to have it more of an idea. Like, if I'm not a big fan of cheese, like it's not something I love. But we can't. But people love cheese, right? So growing up as a kid, they would be like, "Oh, you're so weird. You don't like cheese." And I was like, especially cheese with smell like blue cheese and all. It's not me. But I feel like people should feel that way about like everything, religion, politics, whatever. Hey, just because that person votes this way or they pray this way, like, if they're not hurting people, like that's why are you getting to a point where I can't be your friend? We just don't need to, like,
We need to talk about cheese.
yeah, or even if you talk about why you feel that way, like, it shouldn't trigger me to the point where, like, no, like,
Yeah. I think that it could do it in a way that's kind of playful, like, man, you're crazy, but not that serious way. Actually feel like, taken aback, then, you need to take a
think of why is this triggering me? Why, because
something insecure.
Yeah, you have a family. You have to do what's right for you. So who you vote for, who your religion is, shouldn't affect our friendship because the way that you treat me and the way we are, I know you're a good person.
Right.
So that shouldn't make me think you're not a good person just for that one reason, which is weird that people do that.
Exactly. With you, man. All right. Well, one of my last question for you is, and this is always something where my listeners can try to contribute.
Okay.
Is what is the biggest challenge that you're facing today?
Man, biggest challenge today. I think and uh, it's more or less staying focused on a task because with the space I'm in right now, I get a lot of opportunities. So don't like leave one opportunity for the next opportunity because then you don't get anything done. So focusing on one opportunity at a time is like my biggest challenge right now. Because a lot of people will come into my, I guess, ecosystem and they say, "Hey, I need help with this. Can you help do this? Can you?" And then what you'll start to see is you start falling behind because you're trying to help everyone. It gets overwhelming. So
I feel that way a lot.
you know what I mean? Like, and then you want to help people if you can help them, but I got to start to like say, okay, hey, I'm at my bandwidth right now. I can help you once I finish these other projects first,
Right.
and not try to help
To
everyone.
prioritize yourself.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's tough for people who are super social like you and I because
Right.
we thrive off of helping each other out. Oh, yeah, want to help everybody. That's what turns us on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's at your expense. Your own goals take a back seat.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll help people and they never look back to help you. They don't even ask like, "Hey, what can I help you with?"
It's true.
You know what I mean? And that's and not knocking them because they may be trying to, you know, take over the world or do whatever they're trying to do. But I don't know. I feel like reciprocation is like if I help you and Brandon and all and Kevin and all these different people, and then if I need help, they come help. It just can all just flow.
Well, it happens too, and that's part of sales and networking. You always start by providing value, providing a ton of value, and then it comes back around because one day, they're looking to sell and they're going to remember the guy who helped them out the most, right? Or you have an issue and you need a business attorney who's going to help you set up your business so that you avoid the problems of the plumber and those kids, like we talked about earlier. So it's the beauty of podcasting. Honestly, one of the coolest things about it is you create these really cool relationships with people, and you learn a lot of cool things, and it puts good rapport and goodwill in a lot of different boxes. Obviously, in the future, they're going to pick up your phone call and remember you had a long conversation, meaningful, not just exchanging numbers at the bar and forgetting their name the next day. But
Yeah, you think about let me pick your brain, let me take you for coffee. If you have someone on the show, they get that content, help edify them, help them look better.
yeah, to me, it's way more than the color.
Way more than the coffee and
I think all that's cool about you
Yeah.
because everybody wants to be heard, and I think they have something to say.
Mhm.
Help highlight that and do all of the back end work to make it shareable. I mean, it goes a long way in their network, and it helps build your network too, because you almost piggyback off of it a little bit. But regardless of that, I think it's just a huge benefit to be able to provide that to people, and then they see the value too, because they all of a sudden the people are reaching out. I didn't know you were doing that. I'm so happy I got to see you the other day. Friends of theirs from 10 years ago reach out. It's really cool. And people like you and me who love creating the thrive off of that social feel and with family and things like that. I think that providing those experiences, helping people reconnect with people who are important to them.
Yeah,
That's a feel good for
for
us.
everyone. And like we're at a time where you can actually make a show look just like when we were kids watching on TV.
Honestly,
And it's free. It doesn't cost anything to do. Like,
Yeah.
well, you gotta buy the equipment, but I mean,
yeah, the processing and everything.
Yeah.
You and I were talking about this the other day. I'm spending a couple grand a month keeping the content flowing. You're spending something similar to put out all the shows that you do. But I think it's great, and it's a good investment for all of the value that we're able to put out. And I've already personally, I've had a number of transactions after a couple of years of doing this and not really getting anything back.
nice.
I personally started it in the last month. In fact, we got one escrow right now that came out of just someone who found
So you hundred
said, "Hey, I want to meet with you." We got coffee, and then he called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I found this house. I found this triplex. I want you to write an opera." And I said, "Really? Like, well, dude, I'm leaving town." He's like, "No, dude, I really want to have your perspective on this. Can you please write the offer for me?" I'm like, "Okay. Well, hey, look, I'll put you in touch with my partner, and he'll get you going. And then we'll reconnect with you when I'm back." And hey, we're closing the deal in a week. So I'd say that goes to pay for all my content.
Well, that's awesome. No, like that's what you want to hear, and Nothing feels better when you know what your choice was the right choice.
Right. And
Yeah.
what's really cool too is I think everybody in the office has always been like, oh, like it's cringy. Oh, like content. Oh man, you're one of those guys.
And then
And I was like, no, guys, you watch. This is it. Like,
right.
it's way easier than calling a bunch of people. Seriously, every single time I post a Instagram video,
Yeah.
a YouTube video, I mean, all of my core clients see it. I mean,
Right.
call it 150 people that I, maintain good relations with. I'm not making 150 calls a week.
day or
But these people feel like they're having a conversation with me.
Oh yeah.
And, they're checking in. I have a phone call. Hey, dude, I've been following your content. Really cool stuff. I can't believe you dealt with that with the ADU.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just it's able to do the sales at scale.
The storytelling part of it and all that. Yeah.
But what's cool is everybody who the naysayers are all looking around now. Hey, man, that's working. We really want to double down. Like, man, that's cool. Like, wow, you got a deal out of that? That's nuts. Okay, I believe in it now. Like, well, good luck, man. It takes a couple years. Best starts today.
Yeah, it could have started with me. Like, yeah, that's I agree with that for sure. And what did they say? The parasocial relationship. We had Connor was on my show. We were talking about when Kobe Bryant died, how people felt like they actually lost someone they knew, and they never met Kobe.
Right.
But because we seen him so
People were
much,
crying. I was crying.
yeah, I felt sad, bro. I really felt sad.
Yeah.
And he never met the person, but because you've seen them go through their journey from 18 until grown,
Authentic
yeah.
determination.
So, but all those stories, all those things,
Yeah.
like were documented, and we could do that same thing with our businesses, even with your social media. It doesn't matter what you do. If you have a construction company, if you have a sandwich shop, whatever it is, the fact that you are putting information out there, it could be funny stuff. It could just be your day to day. People's like, oh, what's going on, in Alexio's world today? What's going on in Senator's world today? And then they get used to seeing you. And for me, it feels good when people say, man, I feel like I know you already because I follow your content, and then you're exactly the person that is online. It's not an act. It's not a,
Yeah.
something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you heard, guys. You feel good when you guys hit them up in public. So you see this guy walking around downtown or Margaritas Mingle. If you don't say, tell him
What's up? Yeah.
and maybe if you need a wine cellar or a sauna.
Yep. Or you got property you trying to flip, you need a loan. I can do it all. Whatever you need.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, man.
She didn't have any on, man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. You want to tell the guests before we leave, like any new things for 2025?
Oh man, tomorrow's Margaritas Mingle, so we're doing it at the Hideaway from 5 to 8. And if you are a business owner or you just want to meet some cool people, it's a free event. One of the bigger networking events in San Diego, so you're welcome to come out and meet our crew.
Well, Hideaways and PB, it's third Thursday every month.
Well, since it's going to be Christmas, we pushed it up to the 19th.
Okay.
And then last month we did it on the 18th because of Thanksgiving. But once we go into January, it'll be the last Thursday of every month.
Well, you know what? We're not going to get this podcast out, but I'll tell you this. How can people follow you? Because if you do follow him, he always posts the Margaritas Mingle.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of come meet him and a lot of real estate investors in the area.
I would say do Instagram, Senator Porter 2020. I think it's lowercase.
We'll put it in the show notes as well. But Senator 2020.
Yeah, Senator Porter 2020.
Senator Porter 2020. So
Yeah.
give this guy a follow, and hope you guys can run into him here in San Diego. He's a great vibes kind of guy. He wants to see you succeed, and I'm
Absolutely.
sure that he can connect you with people who can help you succeed as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
hey, thanks again, brother.
No, appreciate you having me on, man. It's awesome.